Welcome to the Ear for Fear podcast, the horror movie podcast that boils and ghouls and dead alike are screaming for. Don't be afraid to listen as Rick and the Creeps bore their way into your brains, slither down onto your arteries, into your still beating hearts.
Hi, welcome to the Ear for Fear podcast. I'm Rick, and this is the podcast that talks about scary movies or movies trying to be scary. Today, we're going to be doing 1986's Aliens, directed by James Cameron, joined by our special guest, Micah Brown.
Hello.
Thanks for coming on out, buddy. This is your first time here. Before you and I jump into it, let's do a quick synopsis. 57 years after surviving an attack aboard her spaceship by alien creatures, Officer Ripley awakens from hypersleep and tries to warn anyone who will listen about the predators. All right, man. So 1986's Aliens. So have you ever seen this? I'm just kidding. Of course you have. This is you said one of your favorite movies.
It is my all-time favorite movie, and I just love all the craftsmanship and the work that went into this movie, and just the pacing. It's like a roller coaster ride in the terms of it's got a slow build, and then once it gets going, you have a hard time just getting your breath. It lets you breathe for a split second, and then it's back at it again. So
I agree. You know, what's funny is I've seen this several times, probably not as many times as you, but I was watching it this morning for the episode. Just, I do that sometimes just so I remember everything. And of course, nearing 50, it still doesn't work because I don't remember shit anymore. But I haven't seen Alien in a bit. And for those who don't know, and I think most horror fans are going to understand that Aliens is the sequel to Alien, which came out in 1979, directed by Ridley Scott. And it's a great movie, but it's a very slow burn movie, right? This one, I forgot. Look, there's a lot of action going on in this movie, but it takes a long time to get there. Right. We're talking like maybe 40 or 50 minutes before really we get any alien or predator action,
Yeah, and that's what makes it so different, because most movies, they just get right into it. Whereas on this one, you get a little bit of depending on which version you watch, there's a special edition, which gets into Ripley losing her daughter. Oh. So she was lost in space, I believe, for 57 years. Yeah. And her daughter was dead by the time she gets back. So she's got that emotional grief, and that's why in this movie, when she meets Newt, it's like a second chance for her. Oh,
so that makes more sense with that connection,
Exactly.
I mean, not that any of us would not try to save a little kid but that makes more sense. Now that's is that a director's cut?
That's on the special edition version, which back in, I want to say the 90s, you could only get it. ABC had aired it, and I had seen it there first, but there was a Laserdisc version, which became the holy grail of Laserdisc.
Oh, really?
Because it had like this 20 minutes of extra footage in Aliens, and it had what was called a Hadley's Hope, which showed Newt and her family going out to explore the derelict ship. And that's where it brings it back, and the whole LV-426 gets infected. So.
Oh, okay. That's interesting. I watched, I think, the theatrical version. So I didn't get the extra 15, 20 minutes. So it would have been kind of cool to see that. Is that what you watched?
I
for
love
the
it.
episode?
It's the only version I watch. There's some scenes from Bill Paxton in there where he's bragging about how badass the Marines are. And he's like, we even got sharp sticks. And it's just so much of Bill Paxton that just brings so much life, energy. And
rest in peace to Bill Paxton.
Exactly.
God. What's interesting is, and I forgot about this, James Cameron, of course, as we know, did The Terminator,
right?
Which Bill Paxton had that really short scene at the beginning of the movie,
Yep.
And of course, Michael Biehn, who's in both of these movies, is in as well.
Yes.
And now, tell me this: why did Ridley Scott not do Aliens? Was there a reason? Was there like something going on with like the studio? Like, was it a money thing? Why did James Cameron get involved? Because I know a lot of people got pissed off that Ridley Scott wasn't back to do Aliens. Like all the people that worked on Alien, they're like, screw you, I don't want to help you out here.
Well, James Cameron had mentioned that he also didn't really want to make a sequel to Alien because he considered Alien a perfect film. And, which it is. It is just a masterpiece of a film. But one of the things, when he had fired Dick Bush, the cinematographer, he brought in Adrian Biddle, I think is how you say his name. And he was one of the commercial cinematographers for Ridley Scott. So that's why it has this Ridley Scott feel to it still. But yeah, Dick Bush he wanted to do the traditional way of lighting. He wanted everything brightly lit, whereas James Cameron wanted things in shadow and dark and strobes and all this. It was a different kind of filmmaking for that time. No one had done anything like it. And that's why it looks so different. If you ever notice, a lot of the lighting, there's usually strobes or something going on. And that's what you had in Alien. You had like those flat, it's just like a haunted house in space.
Yeah.
And that's what was so nice about Adrian's style is that he brought that into the film.
You know, watching Aliens again, and it has such a Terminator feel to it.
Yes.
Like it almost feels like if Alien never happened, that this was almost like a sequel-ish to the Terminator. It felt so much like, dude, the colors, the music sounded just like Terminator.
Yeah.
The sets, the spaceships, all the gear, it felt like Terminator.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. And speaking of the music, James Horner's score is just another person that we lost also. His score on that is very reminiscent to Star Trek Wrath of Khan. You'll see a lot of the similar horns and brass. In fact, they used some of the parts that they didn't use in Aliens ended up in Die Hard.
Oh, no shit.
Yeah. So
is that right?
Yeah. So it's just really cool to kind of, he has a distinct sound. You know, and the screech noises that you hear when something pops out. James didn't like that at first, but then when he heard it, he used it throughout the film.
So let me ask you: did he also do the score for the Terminator?
Let me find out.
It really sounds the same. Like there were times during Aliens that it felt. Like the music felt like the Terminator music. Yeah. Like it almost identical. Like towards the end of the Terminator when she's running through I forget what it is. It's like is it like a shop or something? It's like right before and it's like it's that tense feeling it, and that music is kicking in, and that's what it felt like towards the end of the movie of Aliens. It felt very similar, very reminiscent of that. Yeah. So did he? Does it say?
I'm not seeing it on here because I think Terminator was 84, right?
I think it was 84. Yeah.
84. Yeah. No, he didn't. He didn't
do it. No.
Yeah.
It's funny though. I've noticed, watching, especially for the podcast, I noticed that certain composers will borrow from other composers. Yeah. They do. And like, I remember us doing an episode, I think it was Dead Alive, Peter Jackson's Dead Alive. Oh, yeah. It sounds like Tim Burton, like a not as polished version of Tim Burton, and that's what's funny. It's like, not Tim Burton. I mean, Tim Burton, obviously the director, let's say Danny Elfman, for instance, Danny Elfman usually scores Tim Burton's movies. Right. And it has a very distinct sound. And that's what kind of like Dead Alive sounded like. And I think a lot of these composers probably borrow from each other, Yeah. It's kind of like really with any art form, right? You borrow a little bit, It's
flattery in the business.
It is. And then sometimes I use the wrong terminology and I'll say, well, they ripped them off. And I don't think that's really the case. I think sometimes they're just paying homage to them, right?
Exactly. So in terms of the music, it was Brad Fiedel that did the music for the Terminator movies. In fact, it looks like he did Terminator 2, the first Terminator, Dark Fate. So yeah, he kind of does,
So scores. Do you notice with James Cameron, and I never caught it until today while I was watching it. He really empowers his lead actresses.
Yes, he does.
He does, right? Like Linda Hamilton as Sarah Connor. I'm like, she's a badass.
Mm-hmm.
She's more of a badass in Terminator 2.
Yeah.
Sigourney Weaver is Ripley here. Like, hell, I would even say like Jamie Lee Curtis in True Lies, Titanic, and I always forget the actress's name in Titanic.
Kate Winslet.
Yeah, I mean, right? She's very, like he embraces that, hey, take the reins and be powerful and don't be, because a lot of times in movies, especially in the 80s, these women were very submissive.
Yes.
It's a sign of that times, and no, not James Cameron.
That's one of the things that always impressed me about Aliens, and Sigourney Weaver really liked this because it changed filmmaking for women from that point on. Women were no longer just submissive and crying and in the corner as I mean, they would do something like Jamie Lee Curtis in Halloween would do something, but then there's a crying moment, this, like when Ripley's loading up in the elevator, she kind of gets her neck twitched and is like ready for war.
Yeah.
And no other movie had ever done anything with a lead female role like that. So it was something very inspirational for women at that time, and she became a hero for a lot of these young girls. It was so groundbreaking for that time.
And did I hear she was nominated for an Academy Award for Aliens? Did you hear this?
I did not know that.
Not that I'm shocked in the sense that, because we know the Academy usually craps on, let's say, the quote unquote horror movie
or sci-fi.
Or sci-fi. They really do, right?
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, they kind of dismiss it. And I think I don't think she won, but I think she was nominated, and I'm like, that's huge.
I wish she got it. That would have been amazing.
I know.
She's
right?
such a.
Well, it's like we were talking
Hollywood.
about this in, I think, the Hereditary episode. Like Toni Collette was just phenomenal in that, and how is she not nominated for an Academy Award? Okay, I understand you want to give it to someone else, but at least nominate her because she was phenomenal in that.
Right.
It's like if it's
just at least some recognition,
something, right? Yeah. I don't know why they always crap on sci-fi, horror. I mean, comedy they don't even recognize. Like they don't even recognize, but they have all these other like I'm not gonna say stupid, but to me I feel meaningless. At least in my eyes. I'm sure the person who is getting nominated and wins, it's a big deal to them, but I don't even know some of the categories they have. It's like, come on, really? So, I tell you what, do this. If have it a separate category, best performance in a horror movie / I don't know, give them some love here.
It's like you got sound design and sound editing and sound cutting. I'm like, what's the difference?
What is the difference?
I mean, there is, but it's just like, why not just have those other categories too?
I'm surprised they don't. Yep. So sometimes when I watch like the credits of movies, like say a Marvel movie, and I found myself watching the credits because we know in all the Marvel movies there's that little Easter egg at the end.
Yeah.
So then you're almost forced to watch the credits or get on your phone, but it just goes down and I see just thousands and thousands and thousands of names.
Yeah.
Do they have a category for the person has to enter all those names? It's like, I don't know what that category would be. Best credit name insertion. I don't know.
I can't remember what the cost of having your name. I think it's like $300 or something. To
is
have
that
your name.
right?
Yeah. So it's like you either get a bonus or you can have your name in the credits. So.
Is that right?
Yeah.
That's hilarious.
Something like that. Yeah.
That's hilarious. So before you and I jump into this thing, let me, typically what I do is when we have a new guest, I just ask some random questions about horror movies because we are a horror podcast.
Okay.
And you don't know what the questions are. And just answer them freely. If you don't know offhand, we'll go to the next one.
Sounds good.
All right, man. Cool. So let's see here. Okay. For me, I'm a huge fan of music when it comes to horror movies.
Same here.
Yeah. So is there something specific in horror movies that feels like sets the tone for you? Like, like to me, it's like you could have an okay horror movie, and then all of a sudden you put in this like killer score, and it's like, okay, all of a sudden it went from like a 5 to an 8 for me.
Well, it's like I'm looking at your poster of Jaws on the wall.
Oh my God.
Imagine Jaws without that rift.
Oh yeah, it wouldn't be the same.
It wouldn't be the same.
It wouldn't be the same.
It builds a tension. You never even see the shark, but as soon as you hear the music, you know it's there.
Oh, it's there.
Yeah. And so that's why I always liked about, even like with Aliens has a very subtle soundtrack, except when it goes into the action modes. You'll have like these kind of and these little echoes that go through, but it's just kind of building an ambiance.
Yes.
Of emptiness because they didn't have anybody when they got there. It was empty.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, I find that James Horner used music in this movie like in a perfect way. It was just there when you needed it and to build the ambience, and then it was silent. Yeah. Yeah. Which I find sometimes silence also gives you a very unsettling feel.
I get very anxious when I'm watching a movie and there's too much silence. I get super anxious.
Yes.
And it's like, it's an uneasy feeling.
It's like when someone's walking through a dark house in like a haunted house movie. Yeah. If you have a score going, it ruins it. But if it's silent and they're trying to look around the corner, then when you have that split second sound of what's ever jumping out at them, it terrifies you. It
does, dude. It does. All right. So let's see. Do you remember first horror movie you ever saw? I know that's going to probably go back a ways.
The Thing.
No shit.
John Carpenter's The Thing. And in fact, I actually put The Thing and Aliens as kind of almost the same type of movie. You have, they're going to this place that, I was trying to put the two movies side by side because they almost have the same beats. You know, you have the Queen at the end. You have two people that they don't know if they have the alien inside of them or not. Yeah. You know, you have Newt and Ripley in those cryo chambers. Does Newt have the alien in her? You know, you don't know.
It's funny. I always feel that, like, is it there?
Yeah.
Is it not there?
Yeah,
you know,
because there was amount of time that, it took Ripley to get to Newt before, she could have been ingested. We don't know. And that's what made it very, very creepy.
True. Damn, The Thing. That's a great movie.
Oh, yeah.
John Carpenter's. That's a classic.
Masterpiece.
It really is. The practical effects, and we've mentioned this before on the podcast. Like, I don't know of any other movie that basically implemented practical effects better than The Thing. Like, some people would argue, like, maybe American Werewolf in London, and that's, look,
yeah, it's good.
It's good, but I'm
sorry, but when you have a head that comes off and turns into a spider, I tip my hat off. I mean, it's just amazing,
phenomenal. I don't know if anyone out there is listening that knows of any other movie that has better practical effects, chime in, send us a message, do something. But to me, that is like the Mount Rushmore practical effects for sure.
Exactly.
Now, are you okay? So even though we're a horror podcast, you're more of a sci-fi guy, right?
I love sci-fi, Star Trek, Star Wars, all of it.
Yeah, you're more so sci-fi than I would say horror.
Yeah,
but you like horror. Like, I mean, you love the horror genre. Well, maybe love is a little strong.
I love monster movies.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah.
What's your favorite monster movie?
Wow. That's a tough
one.
Let's come back to that one.
Come back to that one?
For sure.
I wouldn't even know what my favorite. Let's see. How about this? Worst horror movie maybe you ever watched? Creature.
Oh my goodness. It's awful.
I tried to. It's
on CBS right now on Paramount Plus. You can fast forward through it and see what
it's bad.
About. It's so bad.
I think I remember seeing the VHS cover for it.
It's got a cool cover. It's got that alien head on there.
Yeah.
It's a complete ripoff of Aliens.
Oh,
or trying to be anyway.
And it's bad.
It's so bad.
I don't think I ever saw it. It's pretty shitty.
Yeah. Yep.
It's funny again how like a movie will come out and it's huge. And then people try to, again, borrow, quote unquote, borrow, or just try to, I remember when I love this. I don't know if you ever seen Krampus. It came out.
I actually have it on my iPhone. Krampus is one of my favorites. It's like the next best thing from Army of Darkness. It's got that kind of feel to it. Yeah. It's campy.
I love campy stuff. And, but right around the time Krampus came out, there was another movie that came out literally around the same time. I don't remember what it was called. I didn't watch it, but it was exactly the same premise. And it's like, do studios know when another studio is making a movie similar? And
I think they do.
Let's jump on that bandwagon and let's try to get this out.
Let's make a disaster movie 2012 or something like that.
Right?
Yeah. Oh, back to favorite horror or monster movie.
Yeah.
All-time favorite?
Yeah.
Critters.
Oh my God, Critters is
Love
great.
I love Critters. And I like the second one too. With the bounty hunters.
Yeah, dude.
Back.
Honestly, the Critters are just fun, man.
Yeah.
The Critters, just Critters. I saw Critters. Okay. And I think I'm right on this. I was living in Reno at the time, and it was around the time my dad moved up to Reno, and I moved up there with him. And I remember living in this little small town called Sun Valley. And dude, it's terrible. Like looking back at it now, it was ghetto, dude. It was literally like a little city or town. And I'm sorry to anyone that lives in Sun Valley. Please, I'm not trying to crap on you or anything, but I just remember when living there, and it was all mobile homes and mobile home parks.
Yeah.
And it wasn't like a small little blip, dude. It was kind of a little big city or big town or something. And I'd have to ride my bike. I had to ride my bike all the way, and because I there was hardly any theaters around. And I wasn't driving at the time because I thought Critters was 86.
86?
86, is that right?
I think it's around that same time.
And so I would have been like 14. So I had to hop on my bike and have a car. And I had to go up this humongous, what separated like this part of Reno, I think it was maybe Sparks or Reno to Sun Valley, was this humongous hill. And I had to bike up this damn hill and come down to the video store because, again, theaters weren't around.
Yeah,
at least by us. And I remember I knew Critters was coming out because I think movies still do. I think come out on Tuesdays, right? And back then, like VHS was so huge.
Yeah.
Like you would almost know, like when you went to rent a video cassette. What was it? It's not beta, but
VHS.
VHS.
Yep. And they had the new release section.
Yep. And then they'd always have like a thing, and they would say, "Hey, come in this date," and they would list all the movies. And I'm like, "Oh shit, Critters is coming out," and I wanted to see it. I saw the commercial for it, and so I biked all the way from there to the video store on the outskirts over that hill just to get it, dude. And yeah, I still love Critters.
Same here.
It's just a fun. It doesn't take itself serious,
and it's almost timeless because it's telling the story of a family on a farm with a little alien creature. So it doesn't have to be futuristic. It just fits for that time period.
It does, and it feels very, rewatching the movie, it feels very 80s because it's an 86 movie.
Yep.
And some movies just are like that. They're a product of the time.
Yeah.
And it's totally like, but yeah, that's a great movie, dude. Let's see what else I got for you here. How about subgenres? Do you have a favorite subgenre of like horror? Like, like a subgenre would be like, say, a slasher or zombies or, I don't know, ghosts. Me, I gravitate more towards like haunted house stuff, like ghost stuff, or the campy side of it. I love that.
Well, my other favorite movie is Army of Darkness.
That is super campy.
I just love. I like movies that are fun.
Yeah,
and it's like when I walk away from Army of Darkness, I just you want to be Ash. Bruce
Campbell's
as
pretty
dumb
cool
as he is in that movie.
He is
still amazing.
He is. It's so funny that the transition from, say, the first Evil Dead to part 2 to Army of Darkness.
Yeah,
like they almost feel like. And Sam Raimi, we all know, has a style about him.
Yeah,
but it's just Evil Dead is more. I'm not gonna say serious, but it's more gory. It has a specific feel, like very low budget, as we're aware.
Yep.
And then Evil Dead 2, you start to see it a little, it's like, okay, I had a little more money here. And then you get to Army of Darkness, which is just over the top. And I don't dislike Army of Darkness. I think you and I have talked about this.
Yeah, and I think the reason I like Army of Darkness is that the whole reason I'm an animator today is I saw this arcade game called Dragon's Lair. Back in like 1983 in a Chuck E. Cheese.
Yeah.
And had this character, Dirk the Daring. And you would control Dirk and he had these death animations. And when I watch Army of Darkness, I see it as a live action version of Dragon's Lair.
Huh.
Which Netflix, by the way, is in the works of a live action Dragon's Lair with
really?
Ryan Reynolds.
Yeah. And no shit.
Yeah, so he's going to be Dirk
I
the Daring.
actually could see that. Yeah.
So
I remember that game.
I'm excited for it.
I don't know if I ever played that game, but I remember it.
Oh, yeah.
Because that game was pretty cool looking.
Yeah, it was hard. None of us could figure out how to beat it, but
well, I remember a few games back in the day. I forget this one. I think I played this game on, I don't remember what system it was. I think it was like Ghosts and Goblins. Dude, I could never get past this one spot.
Yeah.
No matter how, I finally gave up. I'm like, done. And that was before you could find all these like shortcuts and all. Dude, we didn't have, at least for me, I'm a little older than you, but I didn't have any of that stuff. We didn't have the internet and all this other shit. So I couldn't type in like Ghosts and Goblins. And then I'm like, oh, hey, dude, I tried.
Our version of permadeath on those games is like you die, you had to start over.
Yes, we had to start over. I'm like, I used to get, this is probably why I don't play video games anymore, is I used to get so mad. Like I would bite the controller, I would throw it. I think I punched a hole in the wall once because I'd get so mad. And that's why I don't think I play them. Not to mention they're so intricate and so detailed now. Like the controllers, dude, I'm lost. I want the Atari days where I have to move and one button to jump or shoot. That is it.
I'm with you on that. My favorite video game of all time is the original 8-bit Legend of Zelda. I think there's 4 buttons you press on there and then you're directional and it's perfect. You know?
Yeah, dude.
Now it's like with the new Zeldas, there's like 50 buttons you got to press and all this stuff. I don't know how. It's just too much.
And to me, I don't know if you game on your computer. I don't know. Do you play games on the computer or is it just like a console? I
do consoles and PC. It depends on the game. Yeah.
It's like I watch Donovan, my son, play, and I'm like, I'm watching this thinking you got to do all these different things on this keyboard. I mean, dude, I could barely use a keyboard to type. I can't sit here and hit this, that, and this to jump and to roll. And I'm like,
I just recently played Far Cry 6 and I beat that. But every time you get in a different vehicle, there's a list of controls of how to use that vehicle. And there's got to be probably like 20, 30 different vehicles and each one has their own controls.
Screw that, dude. Screw that. That hurts my head just even thinking about that. All right, man. Well, that was it. That was pretty painless. So before we jump into it, full spoilers. And is there anything, because I know I'm going to forget towards the end, is there anything you want to promote? Your Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, any of that stuff?
I do a lot of psychedelic art on Instagram under Skyclad Squirrel or Skyclad Squirrel Art. And then I'm also promoting a company I work for called Got Nuclear. Okay. And we're trying to bring awareness for nuclear energy and that it's not as dangerous as people think it is.
Interesting.
And there's new reactors that are coming out that are going to hopefully change the world. We're working on a Linner is one of our new things that we're working with.
Can people check it out somewhere?
Yeah, it's just Got Nuclear on Instagram. But if you go to .nuclear.net, you can go to this website and it actually shows how many lives nuclear power has actually saved.
Really?
Yeah, a lot of people don't know there's close to about 7 million people per year that die from air pollution. And it's wow. I mean, it's worse than COVID. But because it's normal, people don't think about it.
That's so 7 million.
7 million per year die from.
That's crazy because nuclear has such a bad. When you say nuclear, the word
we think of Chernobyl
Chernobyl, or something like
3 Mile Island or Fukushima, and a lot of those problems are very rare. But because they're catastrophic, that's all we hear about.
Yeah,
hear about them and. It's actually, they're a lot more safer than you think. In fact, if you eat a banana, it's like having or working in a nuclear plant for about a year.
Really?
One banana. So, what? Exactly.
That's nuts. That's nuts.
Yeah.
I'm going to have to check it out afterwards. Everyone check that out, But yeah, I mean, give Micah, check him out on Instagram or shoot him a message, but let's talk aliens, even though we kind of have a little bit.
Another movie that has a nuclear reactor in there.
Yes, it does. Right.
Another disaster.
I always feel like in 80s movies, especially let's say ones that have like almost like a sci-fi or action, I think you have to have the nuclear like somewhere. Like, I mean, Total Recall, I'm sure had it like at the very end.
Another one of my favorites.
Yeah, it's a great one. But it's like, again, this movie is so, I hadn't seen it. Now I watched it again. I watched it for this morning for the episode, and I've watched it a few times over the past, say 6 to 8 months. Mm-hmm. Prior to that, it'd been a little bit. I forgot how good this movie is. It is a really, really good movie.
Yeah, the production value is just top notch.
The effects, the acting, the music, like I forgot Stan Winston does the creature effects, which are just incredible. Accompany that with James Cameron. Sigourney Weaver's fantastic. I mean, I always never understood Paul Reiser. Because we all know Paul Reiser from like being a comedian.
Yeah.
He did like sitcoms. And I'm like, it seemed weird to have him in this role.
Right.
I don't know, but whatever.
He plays a sleazy company guy very well.
Yes, he does. Yes, he does. And there's always that sleazy company guy, especially in the 80s.
Yep.
There's some tropes in here, but it's okay, man. So let's run off the characters really fast.
Sure.
And so we got Ripley, which is Sigourney Weaver. Hicks is played by Michael Biehn. Newt is played by Carrie Henn. Burke is Paul Reiser. Bishop is Lance Hendrickson, which I love. And Hudson is Bill Paxton. Now, we have other characters, Gorman, Vasquez, Drake, Frost, Farrow. There's a few other ones, but I would say those are probably the main ones.
I want to give a shout out to Jeanette Goldstein because she played Vasquez.
Yes.
Everyone, when I was a kid, we all loved her. She was the most badass character.
She was pretty bad. Did she go on to do anything else?
No, I just watched something on Netflix, though. She has a lingerie chain that she's doing.
Way.
Yeah.
That is so opposite of her character.
Exactly. It's amazing.
Good,
although she was in Terminator 2. She played she was the one that had the arm that shot out. She was the mother.
Shit, you're right.
Yeah. So she was
That is her. The one that was Connor's
the stepmother.
The stepmother.
And I think she also had a small role in Titanic too. She was down in one of the decks with the
kids.
So
James Cameron does what most directors do, is they
use
a lot. Yeah. Because we know, Michael Biehn and Bill Paxton were in Terminator, and then 2 years later he casts them in Aliens. A lot of them do. John Carpenter's notorious, James Wan, dude, all of the directors. Look, if you build a sort of a chemistry or relationship with these actors or actresses, and look, we know Kurt Russell and John Carpenter. I mean, so it's like, well, why not?
Yeah.
Why not use them? And
once you build that rapport and you like working with them, it's just
absolutely,
you're always going to bring them back.
So those are kind of I would say the main, there's a few other people here and there, but so what we have is again, people, this is a sequel to Alien. So, at the end of Alien, Ripley, played by Sigourney Weaver, goes into a hypersleep.
Right.
And in this movie, they what were they doing? Was this like some sort of scavenger? What was this like some sort of mission to? Because she basically, what happened to her ship? She kind of did she go through like a black hole or something?
No, she bypassed like all of the scanners and she got lost out in space.
She got lost for 57 years.
For 57 years and was found by these scavengers. But here's a little tidbit for anyone that watches it. In the end of Alien, when she used the harpoon gun, she releases it and it flies into the door and gets stuck.
Yes, I remember that.
In the very beginning of this movie, when they're cutting through, look at the very bottom of the door. The gun is still there.
No, it's not.
It is there.
Shit, I didn't even catch that.
Yeah.
It's been a while since I've watched Alien. Like I see it on TV and I'll watch a little bit of it. I love details like that.
It just great ties it in perfectly from that.
If you really think about something like that. So let me ask you this. Okay. So, and again, I haven't seen Alien in a while. Did Ripley have a daughter so she went on this mission and she had a daughter back home?
She had a daughter back home.
Oh my God. And then this all happens and then she basically is lost for 57 years. And when she comes back, the daughter is dead.
Yep. And they have a picture of her daughter. Paul Reiser shows a picture out of his briefcase of, here's your daughter. She passed away.
Oh my God.
And it's a picture of Sigourney Weaver's mother that they used.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Really nice. Now that's in the special edition?
That's in the special edition.
Oh shit. I got to get the special edition. I can buy the special edition, right?
Yeah.
I don't need a laser disc to watch it.
Yeah. No, in fact, hopefully Disney, if Disney ever hears this podcast, please release a 4K print of this movie. I hear Disney's stopping production on 4K prints.
You told me, you texted me this. Why again?
They're just kind of switching to like streaming. So they're getting rid of physical media. But this is like, they did a 40th anniversary on 4K of Alien So it's like we need to have aliens.
We
also.
really do. Look, I mean, streaming's fine, and I know a lot of people they prefer. I like to have something.
It's nice, tangible.
It
clickable.
is, man. I still like to have that physical thing. Like I like to go to somewhere anymore. It's like, where do you go? It's like, you can go to Best Buy and hopefully they have it, but they don't carry shit anymore.
Right.
Like their movie section is so small. And then I remember Fry's was open and they had a decent collection. Video stores are no longer a thing. It's like you literally have to hop online. And there's just something about like walking in a store and picking something up. This is what I always do. I would always pick up a movie and go, damn, do I want to spend $30 on this? And then I'll keep walking down the aisles and I'll look at other ones. And then I'm still looking at it, contemplating. And then sometimes I find myself talking myself into it. And other times I'm not. I'm like, I put it back.
One of the biggest things that I'd like to see in movies is to kind of have a student version. So it gives you a really in-depth of how they do the special effects. Their processes and how they do, or like what today it'd be VFX work, CG.
Yeah.
But just showing students that are currently going to school for that kind of stuff, how they do it. Because then it teaches the next generation.
Oh, totally.
So imagine having like not only you get the movie and special features, but now you can learn how to make a movie.
That would be awesome.
Yeah.
Now in Aliens, they did a lot of miniature work in this, right?
Oh yeah.
Is that still a big thing?
Oh yeah.
Is it? It is.
Peter Jackson did it with they call them bigatures on Lord of the Rings.
So they're not miniatures; they're bigatures.
They are massive.
Really,
like Minas Tirith and a few of the other models. They were skyscrapers, massive.
Really,
yeah.
I just love I'll sometimes watch I think I watched Nightmare for Christmas behind the scenes, right?
Yeah,
and the making of it, and I'm looking at the sets, these little tiny sets that they built, and. Dude, I geek out over that. I love stuff. I want those things.
I got to give a shout out to Leica. I mean, all the models that they do over there, like box trolls and Kubo and the strings.
Yeah.
When you look at the amount of detail and the work that those guys do, it's all tangible. Every scene every frame is like a new piece of equipment that they're slapping on the face to give you that animation.
Dude, that's what and who did, we always think Tim Burton did it, but it was Henry Selick. He directed, he actually is the one who did Nightmare Before Christmas. He also did James and the Giant Peach. And I think he did Coraline, and he has a knack for it.
Yeah.
And it blows me away on how long it'll take to do, like, say, a second. Like, you and I look at a second and we're like, oh, it's nothing. And then I know you appreciate it because, again, I know you went to school.
24 frames per second.
It's nuts, man.
Yep.
And I know he's working on another movie right now that stop still, which I just love. They don't do it. And I understand it takes a lot of time to do it.
Yeah.
It's so tedious, but the finished effect just blows me away.
Yeah.
It reminds me a little bit of the claymation that I grew up on when I was younger, and I watched the Christmas, A Year Without
Frosty.
a Santa, Rudolph. Yes, man. You look back at those now, and they're not as great, but they hold like a special place in my, And so those are kind of the closest thing I think of when I see A Nightmare for Christmas or Coraline or something, which are just great movies. And so, anyways,
and I always liked on those because when you see the fur is always moving because of where they're positioning with their fingers. It's touching it. And it just gives you a little tactile feel that it's stop motion.
Oh, it is, dude. It's so cool.
Yep.
So we know, okay, so Ripley wakes up.
Mm-hmm.
She explains to the kind of the corporate folk, what happened. Most of them, I don't know if they believe her, they don't believe her. I kind of,
they basically said she was mental and she had to have psychiatric evaluation for 6 months.
That's bullshit.
And she lost her license, her job, everything.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
they demoted her to some what was she working what was it?
She was working in a
cargo,
dock with
some
power
cargo
loaders.
thing or something. And I think something comes up that, we know this isn't the case because we've had families there for 20 years.
Yeah, something like that.
See, that's what I'm puzzled by. Okay. And again, I sometimes dig into the weeds of these movies. It took 20 years for these aliens to kind of
Well, no, they. By the way, a little tidbit.
Yeah.
It was Burke that sent those people there.
He did.
Yeah.
So now I was going to ask you this because you've seen this more than me. Did Burke know?
He did.
He did.
He did.
What was his end game here?
He wanted to bring back the specimen for biologic weapons.
So that's what he was doing.
Yep.
Okay.
And that's why he says we can be rich, Ripley. We can be rich, and that was his whole thing. And that's why.
What a piece of shit.
Yeah.
So he knew the aliens were there. Sent these 150. I don't remember how many families there were, but I think they said 150 something people.
Yeah, it was
or
like
60.
158 like people that were there.
Yeah.
When
So
they
he
got there.
sends them knowing there's aliens there. More than likely they're going to die.
Yeah.
Just so he can make a buck.
Yep. And he looks at Ripley when he's trying to get her to come.
Yeah.
He says, "Oh, we're going to destroy him." This lies right to her face.
Yes.
Yeah.
You have my. What did he say? You have my word.
Yep.
Yeah. So he somehow talks her into going on this mission, and they have these group of Marines. And the idea is we're going to check on these families because we've lost communication with them, and we're going to go and we're going to destroy them.
Yeah, it was around, I think, the time when because I think 6 months goes by after she has that board meeting.
Oh, really?
And it was in that 6 months that, because on the special edition, you get the little backstory of Hadley's Hope and what happens.
Okay.
And it shows Newt, her little brother, and her dad and mom, they go out and they find the derelict ship.
Oh.
And they go inside of there, and then the dad has the face hugger on him, and that's how they bring it back.
They bring it back.
Yeah.
Does it show like the whole thing? Like how do they get? Oh,
there's like a little time lapse. So it basically shows them walking in, and then time passing.
Shit.
And like a few hours later, they're back, and Newt does her famous scream.
Oh yeah, the famous yeah. I watching this again, I you realize when I watched this for the first time, and then a few years had passed, and revisiting, I'm like, wow, Newt was a bigger character than I remember her being. Like I thought she was just kind of like there and had a few lines, and no, I mean she was an integral part of this movie, and I don't know. I guess I just forgot.
And if it wasn't for her, they wouldn't have made it out of the air ducts. I mean, yeah, she helped them escape.
How long you'd think she was living on her own, like doing her thing in that little pocket area that she was living in, and she had
I think it was like a few weeks.
Okay,
yeah,
so it was only a few
wasn't
weeks.
very long. Yeah,
okay.
So they got there around the right time because they had just had that firefight in the corridors.
That's right. Oh, that's right. Because of all the whole,
and the hamster was still alive, so it couldn't have been that long.
Where's the hamster?
The hamster was thrown off their tracking units, and I think
a hamster. Is that in the special edition too?
No, I think the hamster.
I didn't remember seeing the hamster in the theatrical.
Yeah, there's a hamster in there, and it was still alive. So I think hamsters need food.
Maybe I
think they go a week without food. Not saying I had experience with that, but yeah, no, feed your hamsters, everybody.
I had a hamster when I was a kid. I think we all did, right?
Yeah.
And then you realize, fuck, they're hard. And then it's almost like a gremlin. It's like, okay, don't feed them after. Don't get them wet.
I have a funny story I had this hamster, and it was a master of escaping out of the cage, and it had these little red eyes on it. And one day I feel something crawling up, and I look down, and I have this like 5-inch hamster with little red eyes looking at me right in my face. It felt like critters. It was just absolutely amazing.
That's hilarious.
It's like, look what I did.
Fuck. I think I had one when this was sometime in the early 80s. I think I was living in Lodi at the time. I'm like, oh yeah, let me get a hamster. It's going to be so cool. Dude, I hated it. And then there was all these rules, like again, one of them I remember when someone saying, don't get it wet. And I'm like, well, it's not a gremlin. It's not going to like all of a sudden shit's going to plop off and
hamsters everywhere.
Hamsters everywhere.
I keep crunching on Cocoa Pebbles everywhere I go.
And then one of them all of a sudden has a mohawk. And
you got the doctor hamster. That's swell. Thank you.
But so that's funny, dude. Let's see. So they get to. Okay, so explain, because I'm not a huge sci-fi guy and I'm going to sound like a total dork here. So the difference between, they were going to a station, not a planet. It was a station, right? Like where?
Well, it was a planet, but they were setting up these air machines, and that was the nuclear facility.
Okay.
It was basically like an atmosphere maker. So that way the air was breathable and they could colonize the
on
planet.
a planet.
Yeah,
So, okay,
they were colonizing the same planet from Alien.
Okay, so it is a planet.
Mhm.
Okay. Because I don't know all the terminology. I'm like, and so when they get to this planet or where the station is, they of course they kind of go on a little mission to try to find any life. Right. This is kind of the idea here.
I'm not sure if they were doing that or if they. Burke sent them there, so he knew about the.
Well, there was one scene, and I caught this. Okay, when it's the area supposedly secure, and then Burke and Gorman and I think Ripley go in, and do you see?
He turns off the monitor.
Well, that was later on in the movie,
okay.
but he points to Gorman like, let's go this way, like he knows. Yeah, I caught it again watching it.
That.
Yeah,
okay.
It's literally when they say everything's secure, and this is before they find the huggers in those big jars.
Yeah.
He points this way. He goes like, hey, let's go this way. Like he doesn't say it, but he's saying to Gorman this way. So he knows.
Okay.
We know. Look, we'll come to find out a little bit later, but but he knows.
A little foreshadowing right there.
Foreshadowing.
Yep.
And so then I think Ripley and Hicks see the huggers in that little separate room when they're in the jars. Two of them are alive. The rest are dead. And so what?
See, that's all happening within that 6 months. When they find them, so because it happened, they were like studying them. They were also that's why you had those cylinders with the tubes with all the face huggers in there.
Yeah.
So they were like trying to figure out what was going on, and then that's when once you have one alien, it just
it starts because So because we know we see the mother later on, the queen, the queen, and she's shooting them out like left and right. so okay. So you have to have a host.
Mm-hmm.
So you and I are there, and we get hugged by one of these huggers, man. And they basically shoot what is it? It's like some sort of embryo or something into us.
Yeah.
And it's percolating, man. It's marinating all up in there. And then what happens is because we see different things happen, right? Like we see some burst out of the chest. Mm-hmm. But this is where I get a little confused. So, okay. So the queen shoots out the eggs, which have the huggers. Mm-hmm. Then the huggers get in you, and then the aliens inside, and then they burst out of you, and then they eventually grow and they become a big ass alien.
Right.
Okay. All right. There we go. We worked it out. We worked it out.
But because they're a biological weapon, which I think they kind of explain in like Prometheus in that series. One thing I do like on these older versions is that it takes a while for the alien to pop out. So people can walk around like they're normal and not know that they have it in them. And that's why I liked on the older movies is it gave you this feeling of suspense. Yeah. Like Alien 3. That's another example of that. She has that queen inside of her through the whole movie.
I forgot. I only saw that once.
Yeah. Which director's cut's really good on it. Though.
It is.
Yeah.
Because I remember being like, okay.
Yeah.
Like, wasn't it in some weird prison or something?
Yeah. It was like on a lice-filled prison planet. But so back to on the newer movies like Aliens versus Predator and all those kind of things, as soon as the face hugger hits them, an alien's popping out of them within like a few
I don't like that.
Few minutes. And it's like, how's that biologically possible? It just can't happen.
It's not. But I think what you're seeing is the result of, I think, this generation. They need something immediately to happen instead of that build up like you and I, because we grew up on this, we can sit through it and it builds up that suspense and that anxiety. Nowadays, this generation wants it to go happen like now.
It's like the 3-second TikTok videos.
Exactly, right? It's true, though, because their attention span is nothing, man. It's like, well, if the alien doesn't pop out, I'm going to hop on my phone. I don't know.
Yeah.
But I mean, so tell me, why is it acid? Why acid comes out of them? Is it because it was a biological weapon at some point that just got out of hand?
Yeah. On the Prometheus movie, kind of explains that there was these engineers that were basically they were weaponizing this substance. And see, the alien, it will change depending on who the host is. So like an alien, you have a humanoid, arms, legs, and then depending on if it ingests into something else, like in Alien 3, it's either a cow or a dog, depending on which version you watch.
Huh.
It will change into that form.
Really?
So that's how it evolves. It sends its little embryo into different organisms, and then it changes into something else.
No shit.
So the queen that we see in Alien, it probably came from something that was along that line. So it kind of looked like a prey mantis. Yeah. So that's my theory on that.
Really?
Yep.
Huh. Because I do notice that they change.
Yes.
Now, I just thought they changed in movie to movie just because they wanted to.
Yeah, depends on the host.
And these were all okay. We know Stan Winston did the creature design, but these are all, the artwork was based off of, is it HR? Is it?
Well, no. The original design was H.R. Geiger, but I believe the Queen was designed by James Cameron.
Really?
Yeah, it was
like a drawing he had, or
like
something?
a dream he had.
No shit.
Yeah, because he also with Stan Winston had a dream of the Terminator too. It was a fever dream that he had when he was working on Piranha 2. He had this nightmare of this kind of robotic, apocalypse.
Yeah.
And that's how that started. So yeah, James Cameron is incredible in terms of the amount of art and just design that he's intelligent.
So he sits there, goes to sleep, has a dream, and basically comes up with Terminator and dude, that's crazy.
Yeah.
He needs to sleep more.
Although if he gets good movies,
was Avatar
maybe he needs more
dream?
nightmares.
Yeah, maybe. Oh man. Shit. Where will we leave off here? So
we were talking about arriving at the planet.
Yep. They see the huggers or the and then
the hamsters.
The hamsters and the huggers. And I'm trying to remember the sequence. So we know that Lance Hendrickson, which I love, by the way.
He's phenomenal.
He's
as
great.
Bishop.
He's great in this. Yeah. He's basically artificial like intelligence, right? Or artificial, I don't know,
synthetic human.
Synthetic human. Yes. Is that what he calls himself?
Yeah, I think that's what it was.
Yeah. I had read that he was only getting like these small roles and he basically was like, this is it for me. If Aliens doesn't do anything for me, then I'm done. Yeah. That's what I'd read somewhere. I'm like, really? Because he's such a great actor, man.
Yeah.
I don't see him as much anymore, but he had a run there for a while where he was doing some really cool movies, like Near Dark with Bill Paxton, by the way. Not my favorite vampire movie.
And yeah, Pumpkinhead,
which I still love. Did Stan Winston? I think did
he did Pumpkinhead. By the way, there's a full sculpt of the Pumpkinhead bust over at the Cave in Folsom for sale.
What?
Yeah.
How much was it?
I didn't.
Maybe I need to go over there.
I think you might need to go over there.
No shit. Are you serious right now?
Yeah.
Okay. After the episode, you need to remind me because I may have to drive over there and get it.
We'll call him and find out.
Yeah. We'll call him to see if it's still there.
Yep.
So let's. Okay. So after they find the huggers, we know Bishop's going to do some kind of research on it. Do they get the I don't know what it is. It's like an infrared that shows body heat to find out if there are any survivors here.
Yeah.
And then that's when they come across Newt, right?
It wasn't each one of the people on LV 426 was microchipped. And so it wasn't body heat that they were looking for.
They were microchipped? I missed that.
Yeah, they were looking for the signals of all the people. So that's how they were finding them.
Seriously?
Mm-hmm.
Dude, I just watched it today. I don't remember hearing that. So they come across Newt, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so she's, I don't know how old she is, but how old would she say? Maybe 8, 9? I don't know.
Yeah, they mentioned her name was Rebecca. I think she was in like the
second grade.
So
what is second grade? Maybe
I want to
7
say
to 8?
6 or 7?
No, because 5 is maybe 5 or 6 is kindergarten.
That's right.
So maybe 7 to 8. So I'll say 7 to 8.
Yep.
And she runs away from them because she's scared as hell. Well, who would be? Who would be? And she's kind of she's made a little home for herself in this. I don't even know what this area is. And it's basically a hideout for her to survive. And
it's like some kind of air conditioning shaft.
Yeah, like if you go through a duct, it has like this little room that would almost like all the ducts would kind of feed into.
Yeah.
And that's where she's been chilling. And so Ripley gets her. They clean her up a little bit. They try to talk with her. She's not talking. She's still freaked out. She's still scared, And eventually Ripley gets her to talk a little bit. But they've noticed that this one generalized area is where all this, you say it's a chip.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I thought it was just like
their
body
signal.
heat.
They were looking for their signals.
The signal,
of all these people.
and it's all in one. It's almost like they're having a party in this place. Which, come on, people, doesn't that seem a little strange to me? So they go. Their mission now is to go to this area to find out if there's any survivors. And so they get into this. What is this area? Because it's not where the Queen is. Is this just where all the rest of them are kind of like?
I actually think the Queen was in that area, but
in that general area,
that probably just lower on one of the other decks or something.
Okay.
Because I think it was the same area when Ripley at the end when Ripley's going back to get Newt. She knew where to find her.
She knew exactly where to go.
Because that's where they were like.
There you go.
Gluing all the people to go.
Okay. So maybe the Queen was just on another level.
Yeah.
But they get to this area now because it's a nuclear. Whatever this is, it's nuclear.
They were right by the cooling vents or something like that. That's why.
Okay.
I'll let you continue.
Oh no, it's okay. So they have to remove the clips out of their guns because again, this could blow, and it's like bullshit. I'm not doing that. Like I've already seen these huggers.
Yeah. We
heard from Ripley. I'm not giving you my clip.
My favorite line is, "What are we supposed to use? Harsh language?"
Yeah, that was great, dude. That was great. Who was that? I think that was like Frost character. He doesn't last too long. And so they go into this area, and of course their asses get attacked here, man. And dude, a lot of them.
We lose almost half.
Dude, half of them,
the
right?
Marines, yeah.
Like honestly, we lose. We don't lose Vasquez. We lose Drake, Frost, Farrow. I think there's one called Spunkmeyer. Is that a character?
Spunkmeyer.
Was he the one that was on the
drop ship?
He's on the drop ship.
Yeah, with the
that's right.
With goo.
With alien goo.
Yeah.
But we lose half of them. And so they finally get out of there. Gorman, of course, chokes because he's not used to. This was like his second mission or something.
Yeah, he was all training missions, but no actual combat.
Yeah. And so he froze, man. And so Ripley had to step in, hop in this. What's the vehicle called?
I think it's the APC.
This one right here, that
armored personnel.
So Micah came over and brought some cool stuff from Alien, so it's sitting on the desk right now. So
I've got little tiny models of all the Sid Mead designs.
Yeah, these are cool, dude. And he's got some huggers too, by the way. But she hops into this thing and drives into basically rescue. At this point, I think we got Hicks. We have who else is it? It's Hudson, which is Bill Paxton. I think Vasquez. And that's really about it, right?
And then Drake is also.
Is Drake still? Oh, because Drake is Drake's going to bite the bullet here shortly.
Poor Drake.
Because he gets like acided on.
Yep.
Damn, dude, that's messed up.
But then ends up torching like everything else.
Doesn't it get inside the car and they have to try to put it out? That's such a shitty way to die.
One of the things I just, I was watching the making of this and Vasquez, Bill Paxton, they were losing their breath because of the fumes. They couldn't breathe.
Oh, really?
And so they had to end up taking the roof off of the APC for that shot.
Oh, is that right?
Because that way it would defume. But
oh my God.
Yeah. So they were all passing out and then they would go to lunch, have their lunch break, come back, do the shot again, and then they lose their breath again.
I love behind the scenes stuff. Like stuff we just like we don't get all the little details of stuff and why they did this or why they did that. Because I thought Bill Paxton improvised a lot of his lines.
Yeah,
like we're on an elevator to hell, going down and shit like that. I'm like, I love stuff like that.
You know, it's
game over, man. Game over.
It's funny that the shot with the APC driving down the tunnel, I always thought was a model, but it was a full size. It was a 747 like aircraft polar.
Oh, really?
For airports.
When she's going to try to get them because she's hitting the walls and
that might have been a model, but they also had a full scale one, and they had set up cameras and they were going to film it coming towards them. And they decided to put the cameras on tripods instead. And thank goodness they did, because the brakes went out and it crushed the cameras.
Oh, shit.
And there was another one where the driver went in reverse instead of forward and pinned one of the camera crew. So
are you kidding?
Yeah. So it wasn't a very safe.
Oh, my God. No kidding, man. Holy crap.
So, not to mention, you've probably heard of all the horror stories on the set in London with James Cameron and the cast there. They had all these tea breaks that they wanted to take.
Oh, my God.
And so we'll get into that a little bit later.
Okay. No, I don't think I heard about these tea breaks.
Yeah.
Oh, my God.
A great
That's
story.
funny. So let's see. Okay. So she gets them out of there. So really all we have left now is shit, man. Ripley, Hicks, Newt, Burke, Bishop, Hudson, and Gorman. I think that's it, man. Like, yeah, half everyone. Because
and then we have the dropship crew.
Now
too.
we have the dropship crew,
Yep.
but they're gonna bite it here shortly because one of the aliens gets on, takes out the pilot. I think she takes out Spunkmeyer first.
Yeah.
Or the alien itself, not she. The alien takes out Spunkmeyer first and then gets the pilot.
Yeah.
The ship
Which
crashes.
That
and
scene, I think, is the number one reason I think Aliens is one of the greatest movies ever made. That is probably, I think, one of the greatest shots because they used techniques from Thunderbirds, that puppet show, the kids' puppet show.
Yeah.
And did that same kind of crash technique. They use back projection to kind of show the ship going towards the actors. But just the amount of intensity, in just all these beats. You have, her getting killed by the alien with her hand rocking back and forth, and then seeing the ship come towards them and run. It's just there's so much intensity in that scene.
Now, is any of that miniatures? Like, is
that was miniatures?
Okay.
Yeah. And then it ends up taking out the APC also. So
they're kind of screwed, man.
Yeah, because can you imagine the whole movie would change if they had shut the door on that dropship because the alien got in.
Yep.
That was their only way off the planet. The movie would be different. They'd be nuking it from space with a Sulaco and into a movie.
Done.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I like those little changes. Just one mistake just changed all of it.
Yeah. Yeah. And so they're freaked. Of course, Bill Hudson, he's freaked out.
Yeah.
He's freaked out, dude. This is where I love Bill Paxton, but damn, dude, he wouldn't stop bitching and complaining. It's like Ripley's like, look, dude, Newt survived on her own for weeks and she's not a trained soldier. Dude, nut up. It's like, shut up already.
Yeah, and that's what the special edition is so great, is because Bill Paxton has a whole bit in there when they're on the dropship. We got all these guns, we got sharp sticks, we're here to protect you. And he's so cocky. And so, having now this PTSD where he's just flipping out.
Yeah, he's flipping out, dude.
Yeah, because he was the most badass of them all, And, yeah, he's also
seemed like Vasquez was the badass of them all.
Yep.
And look, and Hicks is pretty badass. Dude, I love Michael Biehn, man.
He's awesome.
Like the only movies I remember him from, and I'm sure he's done way more, is I remember from Terminator, Tombstone.
But
I forget,
for me, The Abyss. He was incredible in The Abyss.
I forgot he was in The Abyss.
Yeah, he was the one that was kind of going through the
that was also directed by James Cameron.
It was.
Shit, dude, I forgot about that movie. I need to revisit The Abyss. We had that at the movie theater when I worked. That was, what was The Abyss, 88, 89? I think it sounds about right. 88
yes,
maybe.
I think it was 89.
Was it 89?
89, yep.
All right, man. So now they're going to go back to, you and I were chatting about this. I guess it's the Colony Outpost. I don't know if that's the best name for this area.
They never really say where they're at on there, but it has like the med lab in there. They have the map room in there. I think it's, like you said, an outpost.
And so this is kind of where they're gonna, in a sense, set up shop. They have to barricade now because half of the soldiers are dead. The ship is destroyed, and I think Hicks says they're not going to come looking for us for 17 days.
Something like that.
So when we know aliens know we're here, so I think Ripley calms down Hudson, who of course Bill Paxton goes crazy here. She's like, look, make yourself useful and get me plans so we can find out how we can basically close off everything. That means, what's that? When you're with metal, when you're working with metal,
with the welding.
Thank you, Jesus, man.
I love their little like personal welders that they have.
Yes, right. Those
awesome.
are pretty badass, man. But the idea here is to weld all the entrances shut.
Right.
That way they can, if they have to survive for 17 days, they can do this with not having to deal with aliens. Well, that's not going to happen here, right?
Yeah, and it also shows she gives Bill Paxton the job, or Hudson, or
Hudson. I think it's Hudson.
It's Hudson. Yep. Gives him the job of making sure that all different levels are secure.
Yes.
And he misses the air ducts.
Now, does he miss it?
I think he does.
Does he miss the
or it's just not on the blueprints?
Because they get this where they think they're okay.
Yeah.
Now, okay, hold on a second. So let me go back a little bit. Okay. So at what point, okay, before this happens, before all hell breaks loose and the aliens get in, doesn't Newt and Ripley go take a nap to get some rest? Because I know Hicks shows Ripley how to use a gun.
Yeah.
Newt's taking a nap, but he's like, look, it looks like you haven't slept in a long time. Go get some rest. In the meantime, we know that Burke has propositioned Ripley about sneaking an alien through so that they can get money.
Yep.
She squashes that. That's not happening, bro. And so, we get this little plan. He gets this little plan in his head. So I think what I'm going to do here is I'm going to let these huggers loose inside where you and Newt are sleeping. The idea here is they're going to get inside you and we're going to be able to sneak them through this. I don't know what they call it. Like some sort of like, this is an area where I don't know what the terminology he uses for this thing is, but it's,
they have like inspections.
Yeah. And so to sneak them past the inspections, they're not going to know if they're inside you.
Right.
And so he lets them out and then he messes with the camera so no one can tell what's happening, closes everything off, locks everything in. Newt and Ripley are stuck inside this med lab or this room.
Right.
Where we got two huggers. And they do their best to get away from them. They're both scared as hell.
And not to mention you have shatterproof glass, so they can't break out. They're stuck.
Yes.
And Burke took her pulse rifle and put it outside so she could see it.
Yes. There you go. There you go. And
this makes it even worse.
Yeah, it makes it worse, man. But I'll tell you, this was pretty smart. She takes her lighter to the sprinkler system that sets off like, hey, there's a fire, and this is where we get the rest of them. They come in and they shoot the window. Hicks comes in. By this time, one of the huggers has wrapped itself around Ripley's neck, and they can't get it off, man. And it's basically suffocating her.
Yep.
And then I think Hudson shoots the other hugger. And then they finally get it off. They kill the one hugger. She's like, look, Burke did it. And this is why he did it. And it makes sense, right? Mm-hmm. Now he thinks, look, you're crazy. That wasn't my plan here.
She's delusional.
Yeah.
Which is true according to the records.
According to the records. But if I'm these dudes, if I'm everyone that is left at this point, I'm like, yeah, this sounds definitely feasible, man.
Yeah.
And so
one of the things we skipped, there was Ripley goes to Newt twice in that room. The first time she goes there, she gives her the watch that Hicks gave her.
That's right.
But there's the dialogue talking about my mom never said there's monsters. But there are monsters.
There are monsters.
And it starts building this little mother-daughter type relationship between the two. And she says, you'll never leave me, cross your heart, hope to die.
Yeah.
So that scene right there was the moment where I think Ripley took Newt on.
Yes.
And she promised that she would never leave her. So she kind of became her adoptive mother at that point.
Yes. That's correct.
Yeah. Such a great scene.
But if you think about it, it's we can be literal in the sense of monsters, right? We know these aliens are these creatures, But the monsters are Burke. It's the corporate
Yes.
the corporate world who will do anything for a buck, man. I think that's that
Like
underlining.
Ridley makes that
Yeah.
fucking over for a percentage. is what
Pretty
she says.
much,
Yeah.
right? I mean, and in the 80s, man, there was a lot of the type,
Wall Street was one of those.
dude, I mean, They Live with John Carpenter, man. That whole movie is a FU to
Corporate.
to materialism and all this other bullshit that happens,
Exactly.
Reaganomics and everything else that was happening in the 80s, the decade of excess, man. And that's, and so I wouldn't put it past, James Cameron to maybe, I know he wrote the script for this. I mean, the monsters is not just these creatures, man. It's the, everyone's out for their buck, man.
Yeah.
It's like, have you seen Squid Games?
I loved it. I thought it was that Marvel episode. I'm still thinking about
that Marvel episode messed me up, man. For those who haven't seen it, it's crazy what people will do for money.
Yeah.
They literally will kill you for money. And that's what's just that message in society as a whole, man. It's powerful, man.
Right.
But there are people out there like that. Look, these are all movies or television shows, but the reality is there are people amongst us that would do that for money.
Yeah, and I think that's why we have these stories, is to kind of, make it into a palatable way without being preachy, to say, hey, look, this is what happens when you have these people that try to screw us over for percentages.
Yeah.
We all die. No one benefits from it.
No, it's man, it's sad. It's very sad. But yeah, so we get back to, okay, so let's secure the area. So if we do have to be set up here for 17 days and we don't want to be attacked, and so they get it welded shut and they're thinking they're okay, but then they start seeing on the I don't know if it's the infrared or whatever that
They're
is.
motion trackers. Now,
Motion track.
One thing that they cut out of the theatrical version is they had these sentry guns. There are these robotic guns that had, I think, like 500 rounds on them.
Uh-huh.
And they set them up at all of these entrances.
Yeah.
And there was hordes of aliens that were coming through, and it wiped out the ammo like super fast.
Why do you think they cut that out? It's just
for timing. Yeah,
timing.
That's all it was.
Because the movie itself is about 2 hours and 17 minutes.
Yeah, and back in the 80s, people had a hard time sitting through anything long.
Dude, I'll be honest, man. If I was in 86, I would have been 14. Yeah, that would have been tough for me.
Yeah.
Two and maybe 2 hours, 30 something minutes. I was like, shit,
And what's funny about Aliens is that in the original Alien, you had one alien. And that suit, I think, cost something like $1 million to make.
Oh my God.
I mean, they used like a real skull inside of it. H.R. Geiger was, doing his thing. He was amazing. But on this movie, they only had six suits.
Oh.
And they were basically like plastic, leotards. But the way he shot it, he always, all right, let's move these six over here.
Yeah.
Let's move these six over here. It gives us the perception of having thousands of them.
It felt like it.
Yeah.
It felt like
or there'd be 158
Or
of
the
them
way they moved, like almost like climbing up on the wall, but like sideways.
Yeah.
It's like a different perspective of it, and it looks great, man.
Yeah.
And so they're seeing this, but they're like, well, where are they?
Yeah.
Because they should be. There's like
they should be in the room,
4 meters or whatever. It's like, well, they should be in the room, and then Hicks goes up to the ceiling,
which is one of the greatest shots.
Oh my God, dude!
It's intense, right?
This scared the hell out of me, dude.
Right? So when people have rats in their ceiling, it's like they're afraid to open up.
Fuck yeah, dude! And so then all hell breaks loose, basically here. The aliens get inside. They're shooting as many as they can. Burke, of course, being the weasel that he is, he runs off and locks the door. Dude, what an asshole, man! But they're doing what they can, right? They're killing as many as possible. But how many? Are we to believe there are an alien for every human that was on this?
That's what
I think there's,
or whatever. If they had 158 population minus Newt, there would be 157
of these aliens.
Yeah.
Oh shit.
Yeah. And one was able to take out all of Nostromo in the first alien.
Exactly.
And these are warrior aliens. So these,
God.
Yeah, these aren't just, very slow moving like the original. They're fast.
Oh my God.
That's why they can crawl
the
balls.
outlook don't look good here, right? Yeah. So they do what they can. They finally get through the door that Burke has shut. And they find themselves, and they've killed, what they could. They find themselves in the ducks, right? Because where else are they going to go? because they've welded one of the doors, and then the other door, I don't think they had time to weld. They're going to get through.
Yeah.
And so, Newt's like, let's go through the ducts. I mean, she's like the professional duct, fucking, I don't know what you call it, man, but they're going through the ducts, and they're trying to make their way. We know that at this point, Bishop, played by Lance Hendrickson, he's on his own mission to get another ship.
Yeah, he was crawling through those ducts to go remote connect the radar dish so he could pull down the second dropship from the Sulaco.
There you go.
So it sent him off his little side mission. But I have a theory.
Yes.
That there's a moment when he leaves the docks, when Ripley is going off to do, which I don't want to have any spoilers just yet until we get to that point.
It's all right, man.
But there's a part where he says it was becoming a little unstable.
Yes.
I'm wondering if he went back to go get the samples, because he was gone for a while. And then he comes back with the ship.
Huh.
And now Dwayne Hicks.
Hicks, yeah.
He had just took that morphine shot. So
he was knocked out.
He was knocked out. So he has no idea what Bishop was doing.
Because I didn't feel like the area, and we'll get to it, but I didn't feel like that area was so bad at that time that he couldn't be there.
Yeah.
So you think he went and got?
I think he went and got the samples because he was dissecting the face hugger in the med lab.
Yeah.
And there was that moment when I think it was Gorman that comes over to him or somebody.
Yeah.
And he has this weird look on his eyes, like he's going to kill that guy for being in his way.
Yeah.
And I think he was working with Burke on that.
Well, because I mean, if he is artificial and whatever he is, what is synthetic? What did he call himself?
Synthetic life form or something like that. But yeah, we had the same issue with Ash.
But because he has a mission himself.
He does.
So, I mean,
Yeah, he's working for Weyland Yutani, and it's just like with Ash in the first Alien, he had his mission.
Yeah.
So that's why Ripley was always skeptical of the synthetics.
So did you catch and I know you caught this. I didn't catch it until today. The similarities from Terminator to Aliens, you have in Terminator, you have Cyberdyne systems.
Yes.
And in here you have hyperdyne systems. I'm like, that's not a coincidence.
And like Weyland Yutani, I think was Weyland was James Cameron's neighbor who he hated.
Is that right?
So he just kind of turned them into the company.
I didn't notice because I remember in Terminator where Edward Furlong is talking to Arnold Schwarzenegger, and he's like, hey, you sound too much like a robot.
Right.
You're affirmative. Did you catch in Aliens where Newt is like, she kept saying affirmative, and I'm like, that is not a coincidence from the two movies. It can't be.
Yeah.
Little things that directors will carry over to see if fans like us will catch.
And that's why I think even like with Prometheus and Alien, it's tying into like even the Blade Runner universe. I think they're all kind of connected.
You think so?
In fact, we're getting I don't know if you know this, we're getting a Alien TV show. Ridley Scott is doing it. So
I don't think I heard that. No.
Yeah, so I'm thinking that we're going to tie in a lot of these kind of things together.
I got to revisit Prometheus. I only watched it the one time, and
did you watch Alien Covenant?
Which part was that?
That was the second Prometheus movie.
Shit, no.
Yeah.
No. I'll be honest. I watched, so Prometheus, I watched one. I didn't see the Alien Covenant. So I'm going to have to watch those. I think when I was watching Prometheus, I was in a tattoo session. So you can't really concentrate.
Yeah. No.
I remember liking it. But I couldn't catch all the stuff that was going on.
We should have a movie marathon, watch Prometheus and Alien Covenant back to back.
Yes. I would like to. Was Alien Covenant good?
So I am very upset about it, but it's his vision, but I don't think it was completely his vision. I think it was Fox's vision.
When the studio gets involved.
Because it seemed like a lot of the things from Prometheus were dropped or just kind of discarded to go more along the Alien route. It felt like we needed an in-between Prometheus movie. So instead of going Prometheus to Alien Covenant, we needed Prometheus 2 and then Alien Covenant. Because I think there was just so much more I wanted to learn about the engineers and their whole backstory.
So the studio probably they get their hands involved because they want it to go a certain route because they're looking at the overall dollar, right?
Yeah.
It's like, is this, is it going to bore people? Are people not going to be intrigued because, it's following this
Right.
instead of going people want to see aliens. Look, I want to see aliens too, but as well, but I want to see the backstory. I want to know what's going on.
Right.
I like that.
And the reason I bring it up is because we're talking about Ash and we're talking about
Bishop.
Thank you.
Yeah.
It's I'm getting tired. But
Are you?
Yeah. So yeah, having David kind of a precursor of the creation of Alien, being a synthetic, it's like man creates or God creates man, and then man creates the synthetic humans, and then the synthetic humans create something to kill off man.
Yeah.
Which is kind of his God, So we're getting this kind of loop. And it's brilliant in the way he's doing it. So
yeah. Well, let's so we know they're in the ducks. I think at this point Gorman and Vasquez they run out of ammunition and he blows basically a bunch of these aliens up. Burke, I think, has already bit it. I think one of the aliens already got him.
So there's a story about that that later on he's found cocooned.
Oh,
and Ripley ends up offing him.
Yeah,
or leaving him. I'm not sure. So any of the audience out there, if they know what actually happened to Burke, if he was, I mean, obviously
we don't see now in the special edition. We don't see him again, right?
We never see him again.
Okay.
As soon as he locks him in, he turns around and he gets hit.
Yeah.
But there's supposed to be a scene of him being cocooned.
Interesting.
So I would love to, if there's any
curious.
footage of that, I'd love to see if someone has that.
I'm curious about that. So at this point, we have Ripley's left, Hicks is left, Newt's left, and Bishop.
Mm-hmm.
I think everyone else has basically, because we know Hudson got pulled down by an alien. So we only have like 4 people left, and we know Newt falls down this. I don't know, another duct, but they're tracking her via the watch, and Ripley can't let her go, and they're trying to. She's basically in the water at this point. Hicks is trying to cut a hole to get her out. Alien comes out, she gets snatched.
Yeah,
and but I think at this point, Ripley and Hicks go into the elevator shaft. And Hicks he shoots the thing. Dude, did you catch the shotgun? Is that not the shotgun he used in the Terminator?
It might be.
Dude, it has to be.
Yeah.
It has
Close
to be.
Encounters.
It has to be the shotgun. Because why else would you have all this advanced technology and he busts out a shotgun?
Yeah.
It has to be, man.
And I love his comment. He's like, I like to hold on to this for Close Encounters.
Yeah, exactly,
it's just awesome.
Man.
But that elevator scene, is that not like one of the greatest cinema moments? I mean, it's so intense.
Yeah.
And then just seeing that yellow acid eating through his armor is just amazing.
And so she gets up to the where does she meet Bishop? Is it up in the same area? I'm trying to remember I don't think it is, because they were going to meet up with Bishop because he has the ship, and their idea was to leave. Well, she's not leaving without Newt.
They're parked outside of like the where they had where the wreckage was in the when the dropship crashed into the AEC.
Okay.
I think he parked it out in that area because they're outside.
Okay, because Ripley takes Hicks into there.
Yep.
And then she's getting all. This is always funny. This reminds me of those 80s montage where it's like you saw it in like say Commando or Rambo, where they got to get all the weapons, and she's weaponed up. She's going to go find Newt because she believes Newt is still alive. But we know in about 15 or so minutes, the whole station's going to blow up.
Right.
But she gets down there and she finds where the queen is, or mother. and all the other aliens are there, and she finds Newt's still alive, and gets her out, and then you got this little showdown with her and the queen, where the queen is shooting out these eggs like it's nobody's business, and this humongous creature. I mean, it's awesome looking, dude. What I'm puzzled by is how was the queen able to detach from where she's shooting at these eggs.
Very painfully.
Dude, it's like she just detaches
she
like
rips
it's
off of that thing. Yeah.
It was like, I'm like, how do you do that and still survive? I don't know. I mean, I guess you suspend belief.
I don't think she's actually connected to it. I think it's, I think it's like the resin that the aliens secrete.
Oh,
I think that's what it is. It's not her flesh.
It's not her flesh.
Yeah, because her flesh is like metallic.
Okay.
Or kind of steel looking.
I guess if you really think about it, there's really no rules, right? You can anything can kind of happen here. But she gets this. Okay, so talk to me here. We know in 15 minutes the whole thing is going to blow anyways. But she's like, "Fuck it, I'm gonna flamethrow all of these things. I'm gonna shoot them." I'm like, "Well, you just pissed her off." Now, could she have just taken Newt and walked out to the ship and it was going to blow anyways?
It was. It was more of a personal vendetta to kill her demons. Remember, she was having nightmares.
Yeah, she was having those nightmares.
And
that makes sense. Okay.
It was kind of like this eye to eye. You killed my daughter because I never got to see her, and now it's my turn to get rid of all your babies.
Okay.
And so it's the showdown, and that's why she kind of tilts her head like, once that egg opens up, she's like, all right, it's on.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's such an incredible scene watching Sigourney just go off, just unloading.
She everything she had, she basically, and then she threw those little grenades or whatever in to blow it all up.
I think the M40 or M50 grenades. Yeah, it's
the eggs are still awesome looking. I will tell you this, man. I mean the huggers, the eggs. They're so the practical effects on them are so great, and they're I don't even know what the word to use. They're gross to me, dude. I feel so uneasy watching these things move along or the eggs kind of hatch. It's just and the goo and shit, dude. It's so fucking nasty, man.
Geiger was one of a kind.
Yeah.
Or Giger, depending on how you pronounce it.
But they make their way up, and this is kind of like her. They get in the ship. She thinks Bishop has left them, but the alien comes up the other elevator. So this is funny. So the alien
she actually hit both elevators.
Oh, she did
when she tried to go up.
Because I was like, damn, the alien knows how to do an elevator.
Yeah, no. So the elevator was coming down.
Okay.
When she was going up, and so it opened up.
So the queen just kind of got lucky.
Yep.
It's not like the queen knew how to use an elevator.
Yeah, because Ripley was running. She was getting impatient, so she hit both buttons.
Okay.
And allowed her to come up.
All right. So that explains it.
Yep.
But they get out of there and they're thinking, hey, everything's great. This is the whole planet is going to blow up and we're good. But then, of course, the alien is inside some cargo area of the ship.
I have never quite figured that out. They show it like the landing gear scooping up a bunch of like metal.
Like it got stuck.
Yeah, but I think the alien, they're more agile than, the puppet is able to do. So I think she jettisons or jumps up inside of the landing gear. So I guess.
Yeah, I mean, for the sake of the finale, the climax, yes, I guess, yeah. So they get to the ship, and this is where Bishop gets the tail of the alien through. Again, these are all great effects, man. And Ripley's telling Newt to, hey, man, go hide. Run, go hide. Do you notice Newt always finds herself underneath like some...
I like how that was foreshadowing too, because she did the same thing in the very beginning and was good at it.
Yeah, she always seems to be in those little... It's either a duct or underneath some sort of...
That's why she gets named Newt.
Newt, yeah.
Hard to catch.
But then Ripley gets on the loader, this loader thing, which is cool looking. Did that not remind you of a later on movie, The Matrix? Remember Matrix, I think part 2 and 3? Yeah. I don't know what they were. It looks like this loader, but just has guns on it.
Yeah, so one of the things that James Cameron wanted all of the crew to do was to read the Starship Troopers novel. And in Starship Troopers, they have power suits in there.
Oh, okay.
And so that's why we got a completely different movie from Aliens, is because I think he wanted to make Starship Troopers. And that's why we have drop ships, which Starship Troopers has drop ships.
Yep.
You have the power suits. The Space Marines.
So
that's basically what we got, was a Starship Troopers in space, but we just used the Alien franchise for it.
Yeah. It does feel like that. Now that you're talking about it, because Starship Troopers, that was done later on. but it has that kind of same feel, like so yeah, I could see that.
And they're bugs and
they're bugs. Yeah. That's crazy, man. But we have this now standoff with Ripley and this loader thing, and they have their fight. And she opens up. What does she open up? It's some like, what is that? Is the door to basically to space? Like she opens the door. What is that door? Like a cargo hatch, door or something?
The cargo hatch.
Yeah. And the idea is to shoot her out and to shoot out the queen into space. Knocks the queen down, but she comes down with her because she grabs Ripley and
she loses one of those awesome Reebok shoes, which is so sad.
What is it? Loses one of the shoes. And then eventually, man, right? Like the force of this doors being open takes the alien, shoots the queen out into space with a loader, and she climbs her way up the stairs, and they shut the doors, and with some help from a half bishop, and yeah, man. I mean, I think Hicks is still out. Like, I think they give him another. Do they at this point? We
never see him after that. He's just bandaged up.
He's bandaged up, and the idea here is to. Okay, so tell me, Micah, because I am so I'm not into the sci-fi. Why is the hypersleep necessary? Please explain this to me, because I mean, so you have basically a half of Bishop, you have Hicks, and now you have Newt and Ripley, and they have to go to this hypersleep. Why? I don't.
Well, even if you're in space and you're going light speed and you're going to some of these distant worlds, it could take 50 years to get there. So that's why you go into this hypersleep to slow down your metabolism, if not stop it at all. So that way you don't age.
Do you see this? Yeah. Dude, like light years just bakes my noodle, man. I've never understood it.
The one thing I find very interesting is that they all have stubble in the very beginning when they're coming out of the hypersleep chambers.
Yeah.
And I was wondering if that actually would be accurate, or would they have full beards and,
Because you're saying it could be years.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, okay, so say for instance, we know that Ripley was lost for 57 years. Mm-hmm. Wouldn't her hair have grown? I mean,
her fingernails or all that kind of stuff?
Fingernails. Yeah. I mean, but maybe some gray.
But maybe that stops when you're,
when you're inside the chamber. Yeah. Maybe it,
it just stops it completely. So you don't age.
That's so crazy, man. Yeah, it's I don't know, man. That stuff always kind of confuses me. I've always never understood like a light year and the distance and all these other like black holes and all. I mean, the universe is such a enormous, vast, like
it's kind of like
unknown,
like Interstellar, when they go down to that planet with the giant wave, and then they come back up, and I think it's been like 20 years.
But it's not.
It's only been like 5 or 10 minutes for them.
See, that's crazy for me, man. I just. Anyways, that's Aliens, folks. This is, this is still this movie still holds up, man. It's a great flick. If the audience hadn't seen it, I mean, we've ruined it for you, I guess. I don't know if we ruined it, but
there's no way to make this ruin this movie.
We spoiled it for you. That's the right word. We spoiled it for you, but it's a phenomenal movie, and you should see it. It literally is a great movie, dude. It feels very 80s. But that's a good thing, because I grew up in the 80s and there's so many damn good movies, and everything about this is so you were texting me earlier that it was like only an $18 million budget, but it felt so much larger than that. Dude, this felt like for the 80s, a $50 million or $75 million budget. I mean,
and see, that's what made James Cameron so amazing, is that he could do so much with so little. He used everything to his ability. And the reason why I was going to go back to about why I think this is one of my all-time greatest favorite movies of all time. After I saw this movie, it gave me nightmares when I was a kid. Yeah. I had nightmares for like a week. My mom even had nightmares after watching this movie. But the thing is, I watched it again and again and again, and it broke my fear I no longer had fear after I wasn't afraid of aliens, and I would take my Legos and make pulse rifles out of them, and my little Lego characters were now space marines, and I'd make I'd find dinosaurs and goop them up with silly putty, and now they were aliens. So it's like I'm checking my corners around in the house now, you know. So it changed my path as a kid. You know, I now was really into movies and Hollywood, and I wanted to be a special effects artist. So it goes to show that even something as small as a film can change you so much as a person and what you want to do. And so that's why Aliens, for me, it really it changed me as a kid. I loved it.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad you came out, man. I'm glad we got a chance to talk about it. This is your first time out. Hopefully it wasn't too painful.
This was.
Hopefully you weren't too scared ahead of time. You did phenomenal.
Thank you so much.
Hopefully our listeners feel the same way. And hopefully, man, you come back out again. We'll do something else. You know.
I love it, and I want to give a shout out to James Cameron. Such an incredible director. And I'm going to fix a few of the scenes in Aliens, the dropship scenes that need some new compositing.
Yeah. I mean, there's some stuff going on there that I noticed today when I was watching it. Some of the scenes aren't great. I don't know, man.
For the time, they were phenomenal. But with today's graphics, we can easily fix them. So that's a nice thing about being a VFX artist. You're like sitting there watching a movie that I can fix that.
I could fix that. Yeah.
There's some people that have redone the special effects for The Last Starfighter.
Oh, is that right?
And they look phenomenal.
Is that right?
I'm hoping the studio will buy them and just buy what work they've done and pop it in there. So.
That's hilarious.
Yep.
That's hilarious. Well, that's it, folks. Thanks again, dude, for coming on out. And everyone, stay safe, take care, and come back and give us a listen. You listened all the way to the end. We appreciate that. Don't forget to follow us on Instagram at Ear for Fear Podcast, Twitter at Ear for Fear, and subscribe to our YouTube channel at Ear for Fear Podcast. You can also check out our website, earforfear.com. There we list news and events. We're available on all the main platforms, so make sure you tell a friend. We hope you come back and get an earful.